Welcome to DB Workshop channel. Today we will learn how to create a database in MS Access. Navigating to the new, and we name the database. So we have to provide the name of the database and then click on the create. Then here we have to click on the create, and first thing we do is to create a table. So by default it has created us this table. We have to right click on it and click on the design view. Now it is asking us to name the table. For example, if we want to create a table for student, so we name it as a student and click on OK. Now we have to right click on it and open it in the design view. In the design view, there we have to provide fields. So for this table we have to provide student related information. For example, ID is a auto number, it automatically provided us, and so let's say name of the student. It is telling that you cannot name something that is a reserved word, so we have to cancel it and we have to provide student name. And the data type, here we could have a different kind of a data types. For example, if it is a date, we have to provide a date and time. If it is a currency, we can provide a currency. If it is auto number, I mean something that can be incremented sequentially, so we provide auto number. If it is a yes or no kind of boolean data type, then we provide yes and no, or we could provide it attachment and other things. So for now we create it as a text only, and then more information about a student. For example, address of student. The next thing we may provide is maybe phone number of student, and then let's make it as a text only, and then that's it. So let's create a second table. We click on the create and then click on the table. There we got this table. So we have to rename the table. We could rename it. So it is saying that it is not opened, you cannot rename it. So let's click on design view, and there we got an option to name the table. Now let's say subject is the second table we have. Click on OK, and there we just open, right click on this table and open it in a design view. It is already in a design view, right? So we could provide the name of the subject, so subject name, data type is text only. That's it. So let's create one more table over here. Clicking on a create and then click on the table, it started creating the table. So we have to open it in a design view. So let's name the tables. So now since the table is in a design view, we can provide a few columns over here. Student ID, for example, if exam is taken by whom, and then subject ID. So for example, for which subject we are talking about, let's make it text, and then simply we say the marks. So here we could have a numeric data, because marks could be a numeric thing, and then next is date of exam. So exam date. So for this we may say that its data type is date and time. So here we have, now we have created it. Now we have to open the tables. Okay, it is saying to save the tables, so let's say yes, and now we have opened this first table. There we could provide some information over here. Let's provide some phone number over here and then click on some other table. So it is saying that okay, save it. So either we could click on this save sign before it, or if I click somewhere else it will ask me to save it. Yes, I will save it. So for subject name I may say the subject something like English, and then for some other subject I may say science, I may say mathematics. So that's all. I will click on here for saving the record now for this table. Let's provide some record over here for student 1, for subject 1. Let's say marks, say 76, exam date, provide something, and then navigate to the relationship. So I will select all these 3 tables over here. I will close it, and now I got these 3 tables. So how these are related? So first of all, this is a student table and this is a subject table. So exam is something relying on these things, that in this table it has a ID for student, and everything related to student is just in this table. And for subject also, everything related to subject, the detailed information is stored over here. So how it is related? So let's say this ID is taking over to student ID. So what I'm saying is that in this table exam marks, the student ID is need to be mapped with the student ID of the student table, so that I know that these marks are related to this guy, this student. So okay, let's create it. Okay, it is asking us to close the table before we do that, so let's close it. Let me close this also. Let me close this also. Now I have here ID, this is mapping to student ID. Over here I will click on create. Now for this ID, this is related to subject ID over here. So I mean the ID from the subject is mapping to the subject ID is there in a exam marks table. So here it is. So for example, so this table is relying on the data are related to student in this table. So this is a foreign key and this is a primary key. If we want to do some changes related to this relationship, we could click over here, and now here we could say that what kind of a relationship it is. So it is one to many. I mean one student could take part in this table more than once. So that is one student ID could be repeated many times over here. So that is one to many. If I click on this line and double click on it, it will open up the relationship for us, and now we know that what kind of a relationship is it. So if it is one to many, so that's it. Uh, the fields we have created over here must be of same data type. So it is just a warning. So we click OK because ID is numeric, and student ID we have set over here is text. So let's rectify this. I will cross check it. I will delete this. I will delete this here also. Delete the relationship. I will go back to the exam marks table. I will open it in a design view because I want to change the design of the table. So I go here and I want to make it number. So let's make it. Let's see if it allow us. I will click. It may say that some data may be lost, because what happened, this table has records, and it could have a alphanumeric characters over there, so that information will be lost. Since I know that I don't have any records in this table, so I will click on yes. Do you want to continue? I click on yes over here. I will click on the database tools and I will click on the relationship over here. I click and this window will open up. So now I will map the records. So this student ID is something that is ID of a student. So I will map it. I will take it. What I did, I just click on it and then I'm just dragging it to the student ID over here and it automatically map it. So I will click, I will check this and I will click create. It cannot lock the table for now because table is open. So what I do, I have to click on the cancel over here. I have to come back here and I have to close this before I do that. So I will click here and taking it to the student ID and then click on the create. So I got a relationship over here. Once I click it, it opened the properties for this relationship. We could check and enforce integrity. This kind of a relationship is one to many. I already discussed that because one student may take part in many exams, so here student ID would remain same, but here it could repeat. So that means for one record of a student over here could be repeated many times in this table. So this is a primary key because if you see it is a key sign over here and here it is a foreign key. So we click on OK and then I do the same for subject ID. I just click this ID over here and drag it to the subject ID, and here I can check the enforce referential integrity and then I click on create. So here I have a one to many. It is one is written over here and it is a sign of many. It is infinity sign. So that's all. This is for relationship we have over here. Now we could create a queries. Now the next thing is we have to create some queries over here. So first of all I have to save this thing. So I click on the save and then I close it. Now I will create a query. Let's enter some data in it. I will open it. Once I open it, it already have a few records over 3 or maybe something else, and then marks is 99, and then if I say it is 22 April, so 25th March, and then I will try to save it. Close. Okay, here we have a query wizard. I click on the query. It is saying what kind of a query you want. Clicking on OK over here, and then it is asking us from what table you want to bring the data. I have all the tables available over here. So in this query we could fetch any record from any table. So let's say I need the name of the student, so I will pick the student table, and what I need from here, I need student name, so I click on here, and if I need his address also I can click on here. If I need phone number also I can click. Then from other table, for example I need to know the name of the subject, then I select the name of the table here and then I select the column name also. Now exam marks table, here I need to know the marks, and now I need to know the exam date also. Now I click on next and then detail. Otherwise you could have a summary options over here, that do you want to do the sum of the marks, do you want to do average, minimum. If we do the summary thing, then it will not show all the records because it just only provide the sum and won't show so we will try both of it. I will click cancel right now. I will click the detail and let's see what will happen. Student query 1, I will name it student query 1. So I will click OK. So now what happened, it just pick the information, it picked the address. Let's see this. For student 1, for subject 1, marks is 76 and exam is 16 April. So this is a future date. Maybe whatever the record data is there, it will pick up. So for example, for student 1, the name is this. So for roll number, for student 1, the address and phone number it picked. For subject 1, it is English, it picked the name of the subject from there, and from marks table it picked 76 and then exam date. Let's do one more query. So let's click on the query wizard again and then simple query, and then let's name it query that these are the objects. Now I have 3 tables and 1 query. Either I can fetch the data from this query or 3 tables. This query I have created and these tables are already there. I cannot write something that is not there. If I try to write something too over here, because there is no such object exist in a database right now, because there is no such a query exist in database, it will give me error. So I will rectify it, and either I will say query 1 or I will say I will use existing records. For example, from the student table, if I want to know the name of the student, I click over here. If I okay, I only need the name of the student, that's it. So and the next is exam marks. I only need a marks, right? So I click marks, that's it. So I click on the next and then I click on the summary, and now I want to do the sum, average, minimum, maximum. I could do one of them or I could do all of them. So if I want to count the records also, I can do this as well. Click and then next, and then now I say student query summary marks. Click on finish. Now it is saying for every student. Let's change the data to see if it reflect a change. For example, for student 1, if I'm saying the student 1 just score 33 marks and exam date is maybe 1st Jan 2020, and here let's rectify it older date, and okay, it's all correct. Now let's save it. I have a query over here and I click on it. What happened right now? If you see, for Amit, it just adds both records. For example, let's see over here that Amit has 2 records. For first record he has a 76 marks. For second records he has a 33 marks. So it just added both of these records because this is a summary table. So it added, it just to take the average for both marks. He just provided us what is his minimum marks. For the second exam, for the exam he took in the Jan 2020 is 33, and for the next exam he has scored 76. So minimum is this, maximum is this, number of records, it is telling me that how many records we found in the table. So this query is more of a summary query, and how we created it, Let me demonstrate it again. Now I don't want to pick from a query, I want to pick from tables. If you want, you can pick from the query as well. So let's pick from the tables. So from the student table I pick everything. For the subject table I pick everything. For the exam marks I can pick everything, or maybe I can pick marks only, right? So either I can pick all the records, or either I can pick few columns. So let's click, and then if I click on the detail, it simply show the records from all the tables and map them based on the relationship we have set. So let's do, first of all, let's see the details. I will say student query 3 and finish. What happened? It is telling us for the first roll number student ID is 1, so having address is this, phone number is this, and subject ID is this, and subject also it picked the name of the subject is English and marks. You know, this record for Amit, it is repeated again because take part in 2 exams. So the second exam is also listed over here, and this is for English only, and marks is 33. For some reason, if I want to add these 2 records, or maybe I want to show maximum, it depends upon the requirement, what kind of information we want to generate in a query. If you want to generate mm, the maximum marks of a student, then you go with the summary query, and then you go with the max marks. If you want to provide the average marks, then you go with the average. If you want to add all the marks, you may go with the summary. So let's create a summary record now, query now. So I click on the query wizard, I click on the simple query, I click OK, and then either I can pick data from the tables, or I can pick from the query as well. So from here I have option to choose. So maybe because earlier we were discussing the query 3, I will pick from here only. If I want to pick everything, I can pick everything, right? So student ID, student name, student address, student phone, subject ID, subject name, and marks, and then next, and then I will click on the summary. If I go with the sum and record counts, then OK, then next, and then student query 4. Now I got the sum and got a two records for this guy, and it just added the records. If I want to change the query, how can I do it? This is a query number 4. I can find the query over here. Here is the query. I can open it a design view, and there I could do some changes. So the query I have created using a wizard, and now I open the query. I wish to edit the query. I could do some changes over here, hide some of the columns over here. I can uncheck it. If I want to delete it, I right click, delete. Now I have a subject table, I have exam table, I have a student table. I want to delete this also. Now I got a 3 tables right now. This is a student table, it has information for students. This is subject table, we have information for a subject in this table. Let's see what kind of information we have in this table. So we know that if for the subject, if ID is 1, it is English. If ID is 2, it is science. If ID is 3, it is mathematics. So there is no confusion in this table also. We got student table, we got subject table. Now this is the joining table. I mean, this is the table that is linking these 2 tables together. So exam table, exam marks is something that is relying on the student ID. When it says that for student ID 1, I have to check in a student table who is the student ID 1. So right now that is Amit, and here for subject ID, so I don't know what is the subject ID 1, so I have to go to the subject table and I have to check, okay, The subject ID 1 means English. So now I am coming back to this table, and now he's saying that for student ID 1, that is Amit, for subject ID 1, that is English. So Amit has scored 76 marks in English, and exam has been happened on 9th April 2020. So now in this way, if you see this record also, the student ID 1, that is Amit again, subject ID English again, and marks 33. So that means the same guy in the same subject scored 33 marks when he appeared in the exam on 1st Jan, and the same guy appeared in the same subject exam that happened on 9th April, score is 76. I just go to create, and there I have to create a query. So query wizard, I click on the simple query, I click OK, and now I am interested in student information, so I cannot write in my report, I cannot write student ID 1 and subject ID 1. People won't understand what is ID student ID 1 and what is subject ID 1. So I have to pick the student information, the name of the student, address of student, all those things. Those are there in the student table. It is not there in this table. So using this student ID 1, that is a foreign key over here, I have to check the details of the student, like name of the student in my report, maybe in my query now. So I want to pick first of all the student name, so I pick it here. So for now I don't interested in address, maybe I interested in a phone number, so I selected it from here. So for second table I'm interested in subject name, because if I write the subject ID 1, people won't understand what is a subject ID 1. So I have to provide the name, and the name of the subject is coming from the subject table. So subject name is just coming from the subject table, and that is I'm adding it here. So next thing is I need a marks, so that is coming from the exam marks table. Now I'm not interested in a student ID, I'm not even interested in marks ID, I mean ID of this table. I'm not interested in student ID, I'm not interested in subject ID. So I will add a marks over here. If I need that when the exam happened, I may choose it or I may skip it. It depends on the requirement. For now, let's consider that let's say I don't need it. So I click here, and then detail is saying that whatever information we have all together, it will just print it over here. I'm not going to do any kind of summary or average minimum. Then I go with this. Otherwise, if I click on a summary, I got options. I could add this, I could do some kind of a functions over here. I could do the sum of marks, I could do average of marks, I could just fetch minimum marks, I could go with the maximum marks, that kind of thing. I could count that number of different exam a person has been appeared in. So if I don't want to do it, I can cancel it, and I can go with the detail. So let's create a student query detail 1. So here I just go with everything. So right now you see here Amit is coming twice. Amit just appear in a English exam, so twice. So first in uh, one of the exam he scored 76, and other exam he scored 33. So he attempted twice this exam, and then in one attempt he scored 76, and another other attempt he just scored 33. So if I'm interested, okay, don't show me all the exam, just show me the maximum marks he scored, or just minimum marks he scored, or just show me the average of marks he scored, or show me the sum of all the marks he scored all together. So that kind of report I can generate with a summary query. So I click on the query again, wizard and simple query, then I I do the same things. I just go to the student table and I pick the name of the student. I I may pick the phone number, and then I will go with the subject. I am just interested in the name of the subject, and then I go to the exam marks table. There I am interested in marks only. So I go here. This time I won't go with the detailed thing. I will go with the summary, and then I click on the summary options. There I'm interested in uh, maybe some average, minimum, maximum. And if I want to do, I can go with 2 3 options, or I may go with all of options because I want to discuss each and every option, so I go with everything. I just click over here. I just click on next. I have to name the query because it will saved over here, so I will say student query uh, group by summary record. So I will finish. So right now for Amit, you see that he just, this is a sum of, because he appeared twice in the English exam, so this get me the sum of both papers, and for the both attempt he just altogether he just scored 109. The minimum marks he scored in one of the attempt is 33 and the maximum is scored 76. So minimum is 33, maximum is 76, and if I want to go with the average it is 54, and then if I want to add these two values all together it is coming 109, and number of the records we find over there is 2. We could have a more than 2, it could have a 10 hundred, maybe any number of records. It is just telling us that okay, I got only 2 records for this guy, and for the same subject. So that's why I just they did not reattempt any paper, so there's some average, minimum, maximum all same, because if somebody just appeared once only, so how you calculate the average same, because one attempt only. So maximum is also same. If you just appeared for exam once only, your maximum, uh, if I want to calculate the number of attempts you have done and maximum marks in all the attempts, because you have just appeared once, so maximum, minimum, average, and sum is everything is the same. If I don't want to use the query wizard, I can go with the design also. So I will discuss it later. For now, I will cancel out it and I will close it. So now, if I want to edit the query, for example, this query we have created right now, and this also we have created right now. So I will just, if I want to edit the query, I can open it in design view. Right click and open it in design view. Here I see that how it fetch the information. So that's the query over here, and then query design. If I want to design a new query, I can simply click on it. So details, like this is the student name. It is telling from which table it is picking the data. Obviously the student name is coming from the student table, and obviously we have to show that student name. That's why this is coming checked. If I uncheck it, it won't show. So otherwise, because we are showing it, so we are making it checked. So phone number is coming from student table obviously, and then student name is and the subject name is coming from the subject table. That is also true, and marks is coming from marks table. So if I want to do some kind of a sorting, like so mean ascending, so alphabetically sorting based upon the student name, so I could do that. I just do this change, and then I just click on save, and I just click on this execution. So now you see that Akash is coming first. If I want to do I want to change further that I want to do in a descending order. Again I go to the query, right click, open it in a design view, and then here I could do descending. So now I could click on this red button and then execute exclamation sign, and then right now it just reverse the list because sorting in the descending order based upon the student name. I could do that kind of changes from here. So again I go to the design view, and there I have done this change. If I want to save it, I have to click on the save sign over here, design view, and there I add some kind of a criteria. So criteria is Amit or Akash. If I say so, I simply say Akash, right? So when I click somewhere else, it automatically added double quotes because Akash is a string. So text string, so that's why it is adding it. So it automatically adding it. So let's save it and run it. Now it is showing Amit and Akash, not the third guy. So why it is? Because the conditions we have provided, we are filtering it on the names criteria. Either you pick the students whose name is Amit or whose name is Akash. If I say John also, then let's see what will happen. Let's run it, and then now it is picking that also. So now if I go back to the query, and if I want to do some other things like marks is greater than 40, let's see if it works. I'm not sure. Okay, yes, it worked now. So I provided a condition over here that show me only those records having marks is greater than 40. If I'm saying that less than 40, okay. So now what happened that I'm filtering again that okay, show me only those records that if the name of the student is Amit and his marks must be less than 40, then so, otherwise don't show. So then uh, for Akash also, if marks is less than 40, print the marks, otherwise don't print the record. So for this guy also, if his marks is less than 40, then only print it. So these kind of conditions we could add over here. This is a criteria and this is OR condition. This is a criteria. Criteria means filter, some kind of a conditions we are adding that pick the records having these conditions true or false. Pick show me only those records having name is Amit or name is Akash or name is John, or maybe adding more conditions that subject is English only. If I say subject is English only, so what will happen that for everybody I have to write. So now I will run. So for English, anybody who is scoring less than 40, so it is showing me here. So that is all about a query and design. Let's save it, and then again clicking on the create here, and then I click on the design. So now it is asking me what kind of a tables you want to include over here. So I will select all of them and I added over here. So now I have everything over here. So now I have to design it manually. I'm not using wizard over here. So first of all, what we want to print, I want to print the name of the student. I pick it from here, pick from the student table. I want to pick the student name, that's it. And then the next thing I want to print, here I am picking the student name. If I want to pick the student address, I first of all go to the student table. So from the student table I want to pick the address, so I click on the address, and then if I want to do ascending descending sorting, I could write over here, or I don't. So the next thing is I want to pick the marks. So obviously the marks is there in the exam marks table, and there I may pick the marks. If I want to pick the exam date also, so I go to the exam marks table, and then I click the exam date. And then the next thing is I may want to print the subject name. So we already know that subject name is already in the subject table, so I will just click on the subject and then name of the subject, that's it. Another alternative way, if I want to pick the student name, I double click on it, it automatically added for me. If I want to pick the address, then I click on the address, it automatically added for me. I want to display the marks, I click on it, it just added for me. I want to add the exam date, I double click on it, it added for me. And then subject name, if I have a further more conditions, that more criteria, if I want to do the sorting on subject name, I could do from here, and then I could run it, save it. I click on save, then it will ask me name this query. So I may say that this is query non-wizard, because we did not use the wizard over here. So I click on OK, and it saved over here. So what we have discussed right now, we discussed how to create a table, we discussed how to do table design, we discussed how to create a query, we discussed how to do a query design.